Hey guys, Dib the Awesome here to give you a Titan video. We're going to talk about the contents of the Titan Invasion. Titan Invasion, if you don't know what it is, it's basically a giant boss battle, and everyone's competing to get the highest score out of everyone. So as you can see here, we are in second place right now. In total, our team has racked up 252.7 thousand points on just the first round. The first place is trailing pretty far, not too far. It is pretty reasonable to catch up if all of our team sits down and participates. A lot of our people seem to be at school, so the next rotation should be more point-oriented. But as you can see here, your boy Dib the Awesome has ascended to first place. This is a first for me. This is one of the few times you will actually see me as a top point contender. Like in terms of pointage, I managed to get a lot of points. And this is actually a really, really hard Titan. This is the second Titan to be released into the game. This is Igneus. So he's the Titan after Xiofex. I want to make that really clear, that this event was, in terms of the Titan order, this is after Xiofex Titan race. It's not like after Xiofex's race is over, then this event came out. No, there was a lot of events that came out before this event. But you get my point. This is the second Titan race ever of all time. And oh boy, did they make this ever so challenging. They took, okay, so here's the challenge bar. It's like really, really low. And then they just shoved it to the max. They shoved it as high as they could. And a lot of people, like a lot of players' teams, are just dying in the first 2 to 3 turns. Like immediately. Because of DOT damage. This thing does so much DOT damage. We'll get to Igneus last, I suppose. We could talk about all the rewards, and then Igneus last. But just so you guys know that this thing does a lot of damage. As a Titan boss, it kills a great deal of teams if they're really, really squishy. But you will also kill them if they're really, really tanky. So you gotta find a mix of not tanky, but not squishy either. Life points is a huge thing here. Natural HP, I mean. You can't have too much HP because you're just gonna die from DOT. Like, disgusting amounts of DOT is just gonna rain down upon you and murder you. That's how this this kind of fight goes. So how does this event work? So basically, Titan Race, there are 2 parts of a Titan thing here. One, doing quests. So as you can see here, there are 6 members must craft 1 level 3 rune. So we'll just go over here. And we'll craft a level 3 rune. We'll put a bunch of 2s in the oven, guaranteeing us the level 3 rune. And in 15 minutes, we'll be able to collect that. Hopefully the quest isn't done by then. I don't want to spend like a gem to speed that up. That seems kind of pointless. But basically, this has the first part of, the Titan events is the quest phase where your team does in total 9 quests. This hasn't changed. They have done a few changes and actually made a few changes to monsters too. During the not a whole lot of monsters. Just like one monster in particular that excelled really, really good in the Xiofex event. Basically, this thing hasn't changed here, where you have to craft. Oh, that was a level 2 and that wasn't a level 3. Whoops. But basically, you get 9 quests. Do all 9 quests, and then you can go to the attack phase. The attack phase lasts for 3 hours. You have 3 hours to use all your resources, whatever the battle rules is. Whenever the battle rules change, or you do with the attack phase. I think the battle rules change every time you attack it. But regardless, you have 3 hours to use all your team monsters. You have those 3 hours to use all your attacks. You need to use all of your monsters. You need to make as much successful teams as possible to get her done. Not only to get her done, but again, get as much points as possible. Points and participation is huge in this event. You have to participate. You have to be there. Unlike team races where you just log in every so often. skip a nodes with gems, skip the breeding nodes with gems, what have you. You do need to be on for this one. I know you can't just have some teammates slack off or not do anything. Like they could have like 1,000 points, but your team gets like the rank 5 months. No, that can't be happening. Your whole team needs to be involved. At least get some point contribution beyond just 1,000. That's not enough. All right, you just gotta be able to participate. There shouldn't be like a member that doesn't have universally any points given, and everyone needs to participate. It's understandable if they have school. Right now we had quite a few members at school, so that's understandable. But you need to participate when it's attack time. You need to do it. You have to, because it's so important that you do. It's all about team effort. It's all about team participation. It's all about getting those attacks done. As many as possible, but as many successful ones as possible. You don't just want to form a team together, send it off, and get no points. That doesn't do you any good. No, you got to find the best comps, and you got to find at least some that are doable, at least some that can get you a few points, like 1,000, at least 1,000. Preferably 1,000 is really, really good. If you get at least 1,000, that's good. That is honestly, that just means you just survived. They survived the first 3 assault attacks on you, like the DOTs and damage. This thing does a lot of damage compared to the Zyofex event, which there was a few ways to kind of control them, kind of hold them down. This one doesn't have that luxury. You're really banking on quite a few monsters here, total blinders, and people that can apply blind and daze. Those are also really huge players here. You're really just banking on this guy to miss his attacks in DOT, because for the most part his DOT and attacks will kill you. He will kill for sure. He'll kill mostly 100 monsters if they don't have the proper tank relic. That's kind of how I got so many points here. You can see here I almost have double the points the majority of the team has. Let's say 20 is the the benchmark here. I'll say at least 20,000. I almost doubled that, so that's pretty cool. But because how I did that was I used certain relics, and I will say for the most part, relics are a huge factor in this particular Titan event, because they'll help you survive his DOT damage. For the most part, it's just the DOT damage that's killing you. For the most part, he doesn't have any control, so you don't have to worry about him possessing you. You don't need to worry about him stunning you. No. He doesn't really concern himself with that. All Igneus does really is apply DOTs and just pub stomp. He does AoE damage while also applying status effects. I do believe that might be how he runs in the actual, like when he's like, as soon as you get him as a monster, he probably has 3 skills that are AoE, and each one does a special kind of DOT. Two special ones and a plain one. He does burn in quicksand and not sunburn, ignition. There we go. From what I've seen, he's done 3, but again, we're gonna get to him last. But we basically just talked about his main selling point. He's a DOT monster, and he's really, really strong. No, what else have I said? I already talked about how I'm getting a bunch of points. In all honesty, with all the points that I have right now, and from me saying that a lot of people are dying in spontaneously to this thing, and it's a wonder why I have so much points, it's because I'm relying on relics. Specifically, let's pull out the old reliquary here. I am relying on the healing relic, so the essences and the healing mask. So we got the I'm just kind of scrolling down here. I don't remember who has the healing mask. Okay, so let's say Mr. Fancy, of course, Mr. Fancy. Mr. Fancy at the moment has my healing mask. This has gone on so many different monsters today. That's how I got 39,000 points. It's all about, sustaining from the DOT and the, just the natural hits. It just kind of works because you take so much natural damage, that and combined maybe with like 1 turn of DOTs, this usually procs. And the nice thing is, this also procs if he misses. So if you have like blinders and dazers, or like total blinders, and you're near death and he misses, this will still proc and this will save you. It heals for a lot. This is probably the best healing thing in your arsenal, because the base healing on this is amazing. So basically any monster that can hold the Mask Relic, when it's below 50%, will just heal for a bunch. It depends on what level, but at max I believe this healed about like 40k. The healing scaling on just like this, this is a self oriented healing relic, so it only applies to the person wearing it. This heals for so much. It's so good, and it saves a lot of monsters from it. Really, really good monsters to take advantage of this. Specifically, what I found out is the monster Oxtex. Oxtex here is able to do pretty much spammable skills, and he can pretty much refresh all of his stamina. He has a refreshing stamina, like he has half his stamina back on a 0-turn cooldown, along with a damage boosting skill. So he can boost his own damage while also being able to refresh stamina, so he doesn't have to waste a turn recharging, and he has sustain with the healing mask. I find this monster really, really good. If you have the Jakugan sword, this will also boost your damage. Well, I take that back though. It's not going to work on the Titan, unless it was at 50%, because I think Jakugan sword only procs when you're 50% of your health. But at some point that could be relevant to the fight. But yeah, this is a really good monster. Another mask monster I really liked putting it on. Even though this monster has really high cooldowns, you can pair it up with things that kind of reduce your cooldowns, or you can pair it up with Dungeon Master. I found Lord Mammoth really helpful. As strange as that sounds, Lord Mammoth is also a good mask holder. Just because he has self-sustain too built into his kit. He has some self-sustaining skill. He has a 30% shield, and he has like a self-healing skill. It's just good sustain. He also has the AoE daze, and a good base damage. Overall, really, really decent. I already have it on. Where's my... Okay, so yeah, Manny's right there. But yeah, I was using Manny for it, and I got quite a bit of points from it. It was really, really helpful. This next monster I'm going to bring up isn't a monster that holds a mask, but you can hold the heavy-duty chestplate, which was also a very, very, very important relic. I will say the most important relics, again, are the healing mask, the healing essences. So, if you have a gold one, good. Have silver, that will also work. That's really helpful, too. The third most important relic you probably should have for this event is the heavy-duty chestplate. So basically, every time you get hit, you get armor for it. This monster might actually be a surprise that is actually helpful for this event. Hey, man. I know that's really weird, but he works. As weird as that sounds, I actually got a lot of points because he can hold the chest plate and he has a 1-turn cooldown lifesteal. He works really, really good with Yamada. If you pair up a lifestealer with Yamada, and that can also hold the chest plate, example, hey man, that's really good. It lasts quite a bit actually. It's kind of disgusting. So that was really helpful. I find things with low cooldown lifesteal, self-sustaining skills where you don't need to waste time setting up, because you can't really use extra turn skills. In all honesty, extra turn users and deniers are basically worthless in this occasion, like in the Titan events, because they don't do any damage, and speed doesn't really matter. Like, speed is like a factor you can just toss out the window. It doesn't really matter too much. No, it doesn't really matter too much, no. All of this, Titan evasion events, all this really relates around is sustain. That's all that really matters. I will say another really good relic for this event is the Tenacity Shield. That's a really hard to get shield. It's a pretty much exclusive shield to the chests. But if you do wind up picking it up through the random chance chests, that's really good in this event. Tenacity Shield would be immensely helpful because it would cut back on so much DOT you are taking. However, it's a really expensive relic to take off. I think every time you take it off, it's like, at max, it's like 4 to 5,000 million. I'm not 4 to 5,000 million. That would be ridiculous. 4 to 5 million, I do believe, each time you take it off. And So it can be pretty expensive. Obviously, with this strategy that I'm talking about right now, with like changing relics and all that jazz, it does cost gold. I was at like 700, 780, I believe, and I was down to like 680 million. It costs quite a bit of gold, but you get a lot of points out of it, and I personally think it's worth it for the team. So I got a bunch of points for the teams. But yeah, that's pretty much how I did it. I used the sustain relics. Like I said, I would swap the healing relics. I'll swap the armor giving relics to various monsters that could do quite a good job against the Titan. This includes monsters that can boost themselves while also doing damage. Like again, Oxtake. I think Oxtake's really good for this event. Even though his base damage, like a lot of his skills are just baseline of 50, they work. It just does. With the healing master, it just excels really, really good. So again, any monsters that can hold masks, essences, and chest plates, armor, works really, really good. What else is there? I already said blinders work, so if you run monsters with blinding and daze, preferably both, you might have a chance of living longer than you would normally. Though it doesn't really matter at some point when he gets 3 turns, because at some point he will get like 3 turns to remove all your good effects, to apply trait disabled, and then apply his burning. He does like an AoE ignition, I believe, after that. It's really, really busted. I'm just glad he doesn't do like 3 damaging skills. But at some point he'll remove all your good effects, and at some point he'll remove he'll remove your trait, and then he'll burn you. So things that are very efficient in cooldowns. I find Ukaduma really, really good here too. Very, very, very efficient at removing negative effects and applying damage boost and precision. He also does quite a bit of damage too, despite not running a damage rune. But based on when I was using my Ukaduma in the event, I was more so focusing on cleaning my damage dealers than anything else. But it's always nice to have healing on you. The nice thing about relics is it doesn't waste your turn. It's always procs. It's procs like either after your turn or before your turn, which is really, really good. Usually just the plates and the healing max procs before your turn. Healing essences proc after. So, those 3 relics combined, if you have a monster with a plate, if you have a monster with a mask, and you have a monster with the essence, if you only have one of each of those, and, the relics I've been talking about, and you have it on one of each monster, that's really, really good. They'll last a while. They should last a while, unless there was a specific reason for it, like there was like a nature monster, and he only focused to that nature monster. I've ran like, Eldino here, and I've ran the Living Forest here. I have used a few nature monsters that could run the relics that I've said, and they've worked pretty well too. Despite being weak to all of his damage, it works. I've had it work, as long as it doesn't do the very, very heavy single target damage. If you have like a taunter, that also keeps them alive too, specifically from that single target damage. That's the only thing that could really ever kill them. As long as it's just DOT damage, they'll sponge it just fine. So always be sure to have maybe like an Agursus or something to make sure that it doesn't single target damage the nature attack, and then you're fine. But for the most part, it's pretty good. They offer pretty good stuff to the table. Again, you're aiming for the most points possible with each team. So you also want to you're going to die, but you also want to make sure you live. if that makes any sense. You want as much turns possible, even though knowing at some point you're going to either die right away. But it's more important to make sure you can take the most out of your turns. So with relics, you can do that. You can make the most with your turns with relics. Because relics give you the support you need to sustain through the damage that is being done to you. So that's how you get a bunch of points. You do your team comps. Find out, in all honesty, keep track of what team works, what teams are getting you the most points, and then use that same comp for the next phase. I didn't do that for this one. I was just using a bunch of different. I didn't keep track of the teams I was using for the ones that gave me a lot of points. But you should do that. I think another reason for that why I didn't do that too was because the rules changed. So I guess that's just also a thing. So as you can see, it's like Thunder, Legend. That won't probably be the next rule for the next battle. So when the battle comes again, those rules are going to be different. Let's see, that rune is actually done now. So we can craft that 2 relic here. Boop. Get that crafted, then contribute towards that quest. But yeah, if you're getting some points by doing the quest again, it's all about doing your attacks. You have to fight the Titan. You do have to sit down. You do have to spend the 3 hours, what have you, attacking this thing. You have to do that. As soon as someone presses the attack button to attack the Titan, you need to participate in that. It's so much points. It's very important that you do. However, if you're in a school activity, again, be sure to tell your teammates that that's forgivable. If you're at work or at something you can't do it, that's obviously that's understandable. But if you have the free time, you have to do it. You just have to. It's very important that you do. As soon as you fall behind, it's very hard to catch up. Right now, here, the enemy team's moving again, so we would need all of our players to be on. Right now, we have like 3. Out of our 30 members, like we have some members here that haven't joined the team yet either. Hopefully, they do their attacks. But yeah, let's talk about the rewards real quick, and then we'll call that good for this video. So for 11th through 20th place, if you get 11th through 15, you get a rank 2 version of him. But basically, 11th through 20, you get a Progenius. I find Progenius one of the best epics in the game because he's so sustainable. He's so reliable and staying alive. A lot of epics don't get that luxury, and this is one of the epics that do. Very, very helpful. AoE stun with self-regeneration and powers. He has the 30% heal that's spammable. It's busted. It's great. He has a spammable regen skill. He has, self-regen. He doesn't do like a spammable AoE life regen. That would be busted, but he has spammable self-regeneration capabilities. He's able to stay out for a really, really good time. What else does he have? Oh yeah, he has like a single target 50% shield that also gives life regen. I think those are the major things. That's basically the whole moveset, of which, at least what I run. I run the 2 self-healing skills, the AoE stun, and the single target shield. Really, really great competitive monster. If you do wind up getting this, if you do wind up blast, just know if you do get this at rank 2, it's a really good epic. It's really, really good for epic wars. It's a very useful monster. Being the fact it can hold a chest plate and a shield, just add on to it. It just like adds more sustainability than it already had. It already had plenty of sustainability. Now with the relics, it gets so much sustainability. It's nuts. It's great. Use them. It's really, really good. Really good competitive monster. 7th to 10th place, get an Atlas. I personally really, really like Atlas. You don't see me use him anymore because just because there's too many ranked monsters. I actually have this at rank 2, but his build is like old school arena. I'd run him like full strength and pair him up with my demise. That was one of my favorite comps to do back in the day. That doesn't work anymore, but it was really fun to do. He is a really decent monster. Really good base damage with really good cooldown rotation. Has a self skill that doubles his life and applies taunt to him. I'd say the hugest problem with Atlas though is his trait. He has a tune. So basically no trait. He's basically a really, really decent monster with a really, really terrible trait. It just ruins the monster. I don't want to see monsters with like a tuned or just some really, really worthless trait like a weak immunity DOT like nightmares. Or what else is there? No, Attune and Nightmares are obviously the worst immunities ever. And like sudden death, maybe like immune to insta death. I think that's not too good either. But you get my point. A lot of good monsters have really no trait, and it's a shame. He also has an AoE Mega Stun for an ultimate. That also adds to his usefulness. This is a really good, decent competitive monster. He can also hold a chest plate too, so he's a lot more tankier, adding on to his tankiness than he already was. So if you got the heavy duty chest plate, this guy runs really, really nice. I have this at rank 2. A lot of people are surprised I do have a rank 2 Atlas. A lot of people are surprised when they see my inventory and they see this. They see that I have this at rank 2. It's because he was allowed in quite a few events, and I had gotten his cells through cell donations and the cell shop when they came out, so I have him at rank 2. It's a nice monster to run occasionally. I run him for old time's sake. Not a bad monster, very decent. Though there are other monsters that run so much better because they have traits. As the moral of the story is, it's just because he doesn't have a trait. Really good AoE. I think his AoE was like 55 damage. It's just really good. AoE 55 or 50. It's just really good. For 4th to 6th place, I feel like this is a nerf reward. I feel like I'd rather have the 7th, personally, I'd rather have 7th to 10th place reward than 4th to 6th, because I don't think Oros is usable in the slightest. So for 4th to 6th place, you get Oros. Oros has pretty much died from grace. Like all of his self-buff, it's pretty much a self-buff monster. It's a stalling monster. And it's only hope to actually bothering you or killing you, or at least the main reason why people fear it, it's because it has an AoE insta-kill ultimate. It has a 50% chance of killing everyone on your team. Each one gets like a coin flip, so it's not just like you get flipped a coin, everyone's instantly dead. No, each person gets a coin flip. If it lands on the correct head or tails, you're dead, boy. That's why people fear this thing. Everyone fears this thing because of that specific reason. Beyond that, this thing is just worthless. It's still, people still think it's a good competitive monster. I say not. I don't think it's good anymore. I think he stopped being relevant since Baba Yaga. I think that was the case. And Cryotan too. I think Cryotan also just kind of kills the reason of using this monster. Cryotan just does it better. He has like an AoE Mega Freeze. He has a single target Mega Freeze that applies insta-death too. He also does insta-death. He's also in the same books. There's just really no reason to use Oros anymore. I just don't think he was good. He's just good anymore. There's no point to use him competitively. That's something I personally feel. But I think a lot of people would say, "Nah, Dave, you're crazy." Nah, I don't think I am. I think there's just no reason to use Oros anymore. You also get 10 Elementium and 1 million food. They did nerf the amount of Elementium and food you get for places. They did change that. You don't get as much. You don't get for first place, you don't get the 70 anymore. You get 50. It looks like you don't get a rank 2. If you get like first place too, like for second place, you don't get the rank 2 monster. You get a rank 1 monster. And it seems like we'll get to him later, but second place, in terms of second place reward, that's actually really good. So for third place, if you score third in this Titan race, if you manage to land third, you get a Mercurius. Now, I actually haven't seen a Mercurius in a really long time. In terms of a reward, I mean. In terms of an event, I have never really seen him available. He's only ever been in his Greek event, his own progression island. I haven't seen this anywhere else. This is basically, I like to consider this fair Voltec. This is basically fair game. What I mean by that is he has no spammable extra turn skills. He has 2 extra turn skills, but they're not spammable again. They're not spammable. I'm not saying his damage isn't stupid. No, it's, in terms of his damage output, it's disgusting. I'm just saying in terms of, like, Voltic getting infinite turns compared to that. This, in terms of this is fair. This is the fair. If you like a fair extra turn damage dealer, this is fair. Compared to Xyla and Voltic, this is fair game. This is totally legit. Is the damage still stupid and like why would this be in the game? Yes, it's very stupid. He's very good at damage dealing. It's very dumb, but it is in the realm of fairness. It is in the realm of fairness. In terms of, again, the other two monsters that can just go on forever, this thing at some point stops. This thing is fair. Not a whole lot of HP, but one of the fastest attackers in the game, sporting an attack, a speed of 3,600. This thing is super crazy fast. This thing is just, wow. I think it's the fastest monster in the game, too. I don't think anything surpasses its speed. And it has an AoE blind, so if you wanted to, you could run at full speed. It is basically the fastest monster in the game, so you could AoE blind things. If you maxed it out and run at full speed, you could basically do that. No one does that, though, because it's a damage dealer. At least that's the main purpose. Though I will say that might be a good competitive choice, I don't know, because there's not a lot of things on defense that are immune to blind, because immune to blind is really not a defensive trait. You must rather have like hardened or, immune to a specific deny or multiple deny, like mountain trait. This thing can hold 2 mask relics. Very, very good. I really like the double mask because you can run the energy refilling. So basically, if this guy goes first, if you use like an extra turn monster, this guy gets to do his extra turn damage skills on a monster. And if you left the Thetis to be alive and you run the since you're running the energy mask for one of those mask slots, you basically can still move even if Thetis does stamina devours. So that's really nice. And he can hold the healing mask. Since his base life isn't too good, if he does manage to live through a damage dealer's attack, which is a really low, I don't think that'd be really hard in terms of, later on ranking, but, well, maybe you have a higher chance of living if you're ranked up. But if you're ranked up and you're fighting a lower level damage dealer and you survive the hit, you basically get all your life back with a good leveled healing mask. The healing mask is so good. It could keep you out there a lot longer. It's very, very decent. Again, this is a really good relic setup. For second place, you get a, not Igneus, you get a Baratagor. Baratagor, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the best, if not the best, single target damage dealer in the game. His damage is so dumb, you don't even need an AoE damage skill on him. He has an AoE damage in his ult, but beyond that, all of his damage is single target. All of his skills are single target. And he works. It's crazy enough to say this thing can actually kill 2 monsters at once. It's crazy, it's dumb, but that's how it is. It's how Baratagor works, because the damage on his skills is just dumb. The base damage is just ridiculous. He has 2 skills that are in the 70 damage range. They're both special base too, so they're effective on everyone. He has I do believe it was a 50 to 55 extra turn base damage skill. I do believe he did that. That also has a 50% chance to stun. And one of those 70 damage skills also has a chance to stun you. It's also a 50% chance. But you can see how dangerous that is. In all honesty, if you get stunned by either of those moves, he basically stalls you out. He stalls your turn, and then he gets to hit you again. He can pretty much wombo combo a single target. If he hasn't killed you the first time, he'll kill you the second time. He goes by that model. If I don't kill you now, I'm killing you later. That's how Baratagor thinks, and that's how Baratagor wins. If I haven't killed you now, I'll kill you later. Or else it gets you down to that point where DOT will kill you. One of the two, but you get my point. This thing is just really, really dumb, especially at rank 3. A lot of people have this at rank 3 or even 4. If you already have this monster, odds are you'll get this at 4 now, because he's been out for a few events, and this monster is really good. I'm surprised he's only in 1 book, despite popularity, but he's in 1 book at the moment. He's one of the best damage dealers in the game. He can hold the healing mask, so you know what that means. This thing is just dumb. He can also hold a sword relic. That combined, the healing mask combined with the ice-breaking greatsword. If you're running a like a sub, denier, or depending on how the turn order is, if you need to run the sub denier, or you go right after your denier and there's still a target that is frozen or stunned, basically you get a shield for hitting them based on the level of the relic. It only procs whenever you hit a frozen or stunned target, but if you hit a frozen or stunned target, you get the shield proc, and if it's like masks out, it gets 2 procs, mind you. Like that single relic gets 2 procs, and max out it's like 30 each. So you could wind up having like a 60k shield if you manage to hit someone that is either frozen or stunned twice. If you do it twice, you get both procs, and thus you have like a 60k shield. And that's crazy. That's dumb sustain. It's so good. And it's crazy good for this monster. He also has healing moves. I also like to bring up he has the self-healing 25% heal with pretty good base damage. All of his skills do really good base damage. And I think his lowest is like a 45. It's like the regen skill, but you don't run it. So basically, his lowest damaging skill is a 50 damage skill. It's just fantastic, 50 or 55. Just a wonderful damage dealer. You get this at rank 1 if you get 2nd place, along with 35 Elementium and 2 million food. Now for 1st place, if you do manage to get this all the way, this was actually a discussion too. It's not too sure if you can get the whatchamacallit. It's not sure if you could get the 9 million points. A lot of people don't think you could get 9 million in the span of 7 days. I guess it depends on how active your team is. But if you do get that done, congratulations. Have a rank 3 quicksand burning trap, man. This is Igneus. Say hello to Tephra's cousin. This thing is terrifying. Because it does a bunch of DOT damage. I don't know if it's going to be enough to replace a rank 5 Igneus on defense, but this thing just does a lot of damage, hands down. Lots and lots of damage, lots of DOT. This thing can apply quicksand, it can apply the, sunburn, it can apply burning. I'm pretty sure it has like 3 AoE skills that apply each one different DOT, and it's probably high base damage. I'm not for sure if it has high base damage for those AoEs, but basically it has 3 skills that apply 3 different, each one has a different DOT to it. But this thing, as you know, it does a lot of DOT damage. It said in the description from the news board, it was a heavy damage fire attacker that also had the life pool of a tank. So basically, it's just a tank with a lot of damage. so basically, a Gersis. So I like the fact that this thing is pretty much a Gersis and Tephra combined. That's basically what this monster is. It's Tephra and Gersis. They said, hey, let's do the fusion dance and let's form a giant meteor guy, okay? So yeah, this guy's basically a meteor monster. I said he was like Tephra. What did I mean by that, Dib? Dib, tell us. Why did you say this guy's kind of like a Gersis? Well, no, not a Gersis, Tephra. Why did you say it was Tephra's cousin? Well, I said it was Tephra's cousin because along with that DOT, he also has skills that apply fire weakness. He can apply sticky lava. This is basically Tephra, but again, fused. He's fused with a Gersis now, and he's just a menace. He's terrifying. Odds are this is probably one of the best sticky lava users in the game just because he has so much DOT. I don't think he does as much burst as the Shalinar, but you get my point. Basically, if Shalinar didn't have the extra turn skill, you'd obviously use this thing because it has a lot of life and it does a lot of damage. It's really, really, really dumb. He can hold a mask and a sword. So basically, the Baratagor setup, basically what I just said was what a really, really good relic combination, the healing mask and the ice-breaking greatsword. Not only will it increase his survivability, but it also increase the DOT time he does. He'll increase his damage over time. He stays out there longer. He'll be able to do more single target hits or more AoEs, being able to do his job much more smoother without not having to run a life rune. You don't have to run a life rune with this monster because he has the healing mask. You have no idea how much healing you get off the healing mask and how much sustain you get off with the ice-breaking greatsword if you can get the procs off. It's very, very sustainable. You don't need to run a life rune at that point. This is a really, really good monster. I don't know if this is going to replace Igneus rank 5 on defense. I have no idea. But I would bring this to an Igneus fight, in all honesty. There are very few monsters in the fire category that are substitutable to the rank 5 Igneus. I think this is one of those monsters, just because of how powerful his DOT is. Like, he has like several DOTs. I do believe I think Quicksand and Ignite was 20%, like Quicksand's 15, and Burning's like 10. So that's 35 of your life after applying all 3 DOTs. And keep in mind, other monsters could probably do that, like quick apply that too. Like maybe you could run a Balor to apply the Quicksand, and Igneus can apply the Ignition, and another monster could apply. You could probably have like a denier that does AoE poison. Like a denier that does a deny that Igneus doesn't cover, or the other monster that you bring doesn't cover. But you get my point. If you stack this with other DOT users that also could do other things, it's just busted. It's really good. Monsters that can run tanky relics, I highly recommend pairing with this monster. It would work so well. But that is all that you need to know. Again, if you get first, you also get the 50 Elementium and the second prize, which is a +1 Baratagor. Really, really good. Rank 1 Baratagor. Overall, I love Titan Invasion. It's just a phenomenal event. I've really loved doing these kind of events and all that jazz. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. I will happily answer them. I'm Dib the Awesome, and I'll catch you guys later.